Welcome back to the Oxendine Law Podcast. This is a big topic. I know it's a big question a lot of people ask, and that is, should I move out during the divorce? And one of the first big decisions people make in a divorce is, do I move out or do I not? The choice to leave the marital home can have consequences. It can have legal consequences. It can affect custody as far as how that turns out in the case. So in this episode, we will help you weigh all of your options before you make that emotional decision to pack your bags and move out of the house. All right, Christine, first thing that's obvious to me, this is kind of the big one. You're in this house, you hate this person, you don't want to live with them while you're going through the process. You don't have to.
You don't.
But do you move out before you get a court order in place or not? If you have kids, it is a huge deal. Let's say you're in the house. Let's say you're either the primary caretaker or you're going to say that I've been an equal caretaker. And then you decide to move out and you wait 3, 4, 5, 6 months or more before you file for divorce. And in the meantime, the kids end up staying in the house more because that's where their things are and that's where they go to school and that's where their friends are. Or maybe the parent that's in the house doesn't allow you to have the same amount of access to the kids as you're used to having. And then you fast forward and you're sitting in your divorce case and you're saying, hey, I'm the primary caretaker, but for the past 6 months, I haven't been the primary caretaker, or I should have 50-50 on custody and parenting time. But for the past 6 months to a year, you haven't. That can have a huge impact on custody and parenting time in the case.
It certainly can. So I always tell clients, first of all, do you want to be in the house? I mean, seriously, do you want to be in the house? The biggest, consideration is, can you afford it? It is generally hard for a single income to support a formerly dual income household. So the financial analysis really needs to come first. When we're talking about this is just temporarily, what are we going to do? I understand. But at the same time, if you are not going to keep the house long term, you might want to go ahead and start looking for that alternate option now. Because what happens if you're just like, oh, well, I'll just wait, I'll figure that out after. And then that you're kind of waiting on the house to sell. And then I'll see how much it brings. And then I'll find someplace else. That may not be the best strategy or plan if we truly don't know. We've got, of course, really good estimates. So sometimes it's the smarter decision to go ahead and secure your separate residence and flip that on the other side. I've done that several times recently. Okay, well, she's already here. She got an apartment. It's a 3-year lease. It's in the school district where the kids are. We know exactly where she's going to be residing. It's a 2-bedroom. The boys are going to share the bunk beds. They're really young. It's going to be great. And then I'm looking at the other side. What's your plan? Well, I'm going to try to stay in the house. Okay, have you got a refinance approval? No. And then, it's okay. Well, and I'm looking at anybody, a judge, a guardian, whoever may be weighing in on this and saying, okay, my client came up with an absolute brilliant plan day one and is executing it. He's over here just like, well, I'll figure it out as I go. That's not stable for the kids. So there's a lot of ways to spin it. The number one piece of advice is decide what you want and then let me and Jared help you do it.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Or get out.
That's true with everything in the divorce.
It's true.
But here's what I will say. The no-brainer scenario is you don't have kids together and you've got your own resources. So you've got a job, you make good money, you can afford to go get your own place. Okay,
Get
leave.
out.
If you don't want to stay in that house, you don't want to keep that house, no big deal.
Yep.
You leave, and then your spouse, if they want to keep the house and buy you out, great. If they don't want to, house will be sold, proceeds will be divided, you're already out, you don't have to live with that person anymore. That is a no-brainer.
Yep.
But if you don't have access to money, we've seen a lot of people make that mistake, not because we've advised them to, because that's the situation they find themselves in when they come to meet with us. And I don't know how people do this. They get swindled half the time. They don't have any money. They don't have a job. All right. They've got kids. They listen to their spouse because their spouse might be a narcissist or a jerk or controlling, whatever. And they promise them, hey, I'm going to stay here and keep paying for the house. You go ahead. You move out. I'll still let you have the kids the same amount of time. I'll give you this amount of money. And they actually do it.
Right.
And then they get cut off. The person stops giving them money, or they give them not enough money to pay their expenses, and they start withholding the kids.
Right.
You don't want to put yourself in that situation.
No, because we can remedy it, but not overnight.
That's right.
Ultimately, they are going to pay the price for that bad behavior, but it may be 60, 90 days down the road before I even get in front of a judge to bring that bad behavior to someone important's attention.
And so what Christine's talking about is don't move out if you have kids or you need financial assistance, okay? don't move out until we get an order in place. So one of the beautiful things about a divorce is most of the time the judge, if you're in a situation where it's a toxic household environment, you're fighting, you're arguing, you're not getting along, judges are not going to make you keep living with that person in that type of environment while the case is pending. The judge usually will decide who's going to stay in the house and who's moving out. And as part of that decision, it'll address who's going to have custody while the case is pending, what is parenting time going to look like, is there support that needs to be paid? Okay, how much support's going to be paid, and how are the bills going to get paid?
Right.
And so once we get an order in place, and sometimes we can do it by consent. It's not always from a judge. Sometimes the attorneys can get together and work out a consent agreement on what we're going to do on a temporary basis. But whether it's through a judge's order, after a hearing, or by consent through the attorneys, get that. It's called a consent temporary order, or if the judge does, it's called a temporary order. Get that temporary order in place. Now we have rules in place. Everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, what they're supposed to pay for, who's paying for what, and who's got the kids, and what parenting time is going to look like. We have all the rules in place, and you don't have these issues.
That's exactly right. Yep.
So that's what you need to do before you move out. We understand why you want to get out. You may have domestic violence going on. It could be a toxic environment. There may be an issue with the children's safety. But again, if it's that much of an emergency, we can get you an emergency hearing. If you have a bona fide emergency, we can file for that emergency hearing.
Sure.
But you can't permanently vacate. Now, you can go stay somewhere for a short period of time.
Of
You
course.
stay with a relative or a friend. If it's that much of an emergency situation where you just have to get out because you're in danger, we're not saying stay in the house under those circumstances. Go ahead and get out, but you need to quickly get the case filed and ask for that emergency hearing, and we can do that. So make sure you take advantage of these things before you kind of leave yourself out high and dry.
That's it. My general rule of thumb is never leave the house without the children, period. Now, like Jared just said, if you know that your girlfriend's having a birthday party and all the girls are going to Chattanooga, you get to do that. Going to Chattanooga for the weekend is not leaving your kids home. That's a normal parent situation.
Right.
If you were still in a very happy marriage, they'd be home with their dad while you were partying with your friends in Chattanooga. So that's not unusual. But do not come to me when you've partied with your friends in Chattanooga and left them home with dad. And then 3 weekends later, somebody got a boat on Lanier and I'm out here and they're home with dad. And then you come and consult with me and you tell me they can't be left alone with their dad. Absolutely not. They'll die if they're one night with their dad. Don't do that to me. Do not come to me after you've made that choice. I'm encouraging you, unless there's a true absolute danger, do leave the children with your dad or with their dad. Do go and enjoy that time in Chattanooga or on the boat or wherever that you're going. But don't then turn around and come to me and say, I don't want their dad having overnights.
That's a great point. So let's shift this focus a little bit. We've got one more thing to talk about when moving out. So you're moving out. Either you've got an order in place to move out, or you made the mistake and you moved out without an order. But that means your case is still pending. Your case has not been finalized. The assets have not been finalized. Let's say you've got a safe in the house, or you've got some special place where cash is. Or let's say there's a big collection of coins or guns, stuff that's valuable in the house. You don't want to just move out and not document that, because you know what's going to happen. When it comes time to divide that cash or those coins or those collectibles or that gun collection, your spouse is going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. There was never any cash in the house.
I think there's $400 in the safe. Yeah.
Right.
You can have half.
Yes. So document that. And actually, we just did that recently in a case, and I'm glad we did, because the husband tried to claim that exact same thing. And we're like, guess what? We took pictures. So I actually had my client bring somebody with her. I think it's important to bring somebody with you so nobody can accuse you of stealing anything. But she got a private investigator before she left the house. She went with the private investigator. There was a safe that had there was like $80,000 of cash in the safe. So everything was videoed. Everything was documented. The private investigator counted everything. It was all on camera. She took half of it and left the other half for him. And we haven't had a single dispute about it. Had she left without documenting that cash, the husband would have probably just got away with $80,000.
Probably.
Because he would have claimed that it didn't exist.
And he would have, there's $10,000 in the safe. Yep. There's always something left. It's never gone.
That's right.
It's just a lot lower than what you thought it was when he left.
So when you move out, or if you move out, if there's valuable stuff in the house that needs to be documented, make sure you document it. That way, when we're doing the final settlement in the case, you can get your fair share of everything that was left behind. Christine, got anything else to add?
Yeah, documenting is like Jared said, documenting is not just enough. Don't count $80,000 in the safe and then walk away without 40 in your pocket.
This is a move that requires strategy. Think before you act. Plan it out with your attorney. Again, if you're thinking about moving out, that means you're thinking about divorce. There's a lot of complex strategy decisions and advice we can give you to help you best navigate that process. So meet with a good attorney. We'll navigate you. We'll get you there. Subscribe to us. Hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. That way you'll be the first to see future episodes. We appreciate you hanging out with us. We look forward to chatting with you next time.